Here's something that catches a lot of people completely off guard. Having some of your finances automated is actually more dangerous than having none of it automated. And I know that sounds backwards. More automation should mean more safety, more things running on schedule, less room for error. But here's what actually happens when people automate partially. They set up 2 or 3 automatic transfers, maybe the rent, the Netflix subscription, and a savings contribution. And then they mentally file their finances under handled. They stop looking as closely. They stop catching the things that slipped through. They stop noticing the slow drift because the automated parts are running fine, and the brain assumes the rest is too. Meanwhile, the gaps in the automation, the places where money still requires a conscious decision to move correctly, are running on the same depleted willpower and inconsistent attention that caused the problems before the automation started. Except now there's less vigilance because the system feels like it's working. Partial automation creates the feeling of control without the reality of it. And that gap between feeling and reality is exactly where most financial leakage quietly lives. My name is Dave, and I love helping people close the gap between thinking their money is sorted and actually having a system that runs correctly, whether they're paying attention or not. Today, we're going through what a fully automated financial system actually looks like. Not 2 or 3 things on autopilot, the complete wiring diagram. Every dollar with a predetermined destination. Every transfer on a schedule. Every gap closed so the system runs correctly on its worst day as reliably as it does on its best. Let's start with the fundamental principle that makes full automation different from partial automation. In a fully automated system, every dollar that enters your financial life has a predetermined destination before it arrives, not a destination you decide after it lands. A destination it travels to automatically, on a schedule, without requiring a single active decision from you. The difference matters because of something called decision points. Every place in your financial life where money sits and waits for you to decide what to do with it is a decision point. And decision points are where financial leakage happens. Not through bad decisions exactly, through delayed decisions, forgotten decisions, and decisions made in moments of low willpower that don't reflect your actual intentions. The goal of full automation is to reduce the number of decision points in your financial life to as close to zero as possible, not by removing your agency, by converting your intentions into standing instructions that execute automatically so your money moves correctly even on the days when you're not thinking about it at all. Here's what that architecture actually looks like built from the ground up. Layer 1, the income landing account. Everything starts here. This is your primary checking account, the account where your paycheck deposits, the account your employer has on file, the account that receives every source of income you have. This account has one job: receiving money and dispatching it to everywhere else. It is a transit hub, not a storage facility. The goal is for money to arrive here and leave to its correct destination as quickly as possible, so the balance in this account at any given moment represents only the operating float needed to cover the bills that haven't processed yet. The target balance in this account at any point in the pay cycle is roughly 1 month of fixed expenses, enough to cover everything that's coming out. Not significantly more, because every dollar sitting above that threshold in a checking account, earning essentially nothing, is a dollar that should be somewhere else earning returns. Here's the critical technical setup for this account. Every recurring bill that can be automated should be set to autopay from here. Mortgage or rent, utilities, insurance premiums, minimum debt payments, phone, internet. Everything with a fixed or predictable amount that recurs monthly. These leave this account automatically on their due dates. You never touch them, they just happen. Layer 2, the automated savings dispatch. This is the layer most people have partially set up and almost nobody has fully correct. On the same day your paycheck deposits, 3 automated transfers leave the income landing account simultaneously. The first transfer goes to your emergency fund account if it isn't fully funded yet. A fixed dollar amount every payday until the fund hits its target balance of 3 to 6 months of actual costs. Most modern banks allow you to set a conditional transfer rule that automatically stops once the account hits the target balance and redirects to the next destination. Set this up once and it manages itself. The second transfer goes to your investment accounts. The specific sequence depends on where you are in the funding hierarchy. Roth IRA contribution divided by your number of pay periods per year. If you're paid bi-weekly, that's $269 per paycheck to hit the annual $7,000 limit. This transfer goes directly to your brokerage account where it should be set to automatically invest in your chosen index fund on arrival, rather than sitting as uninvested cash. This last step, making sure the money actually invests rather than sitting idle inside the account, is the single most common gap in otherwise well-structured automation. The third transfer goes to your sinking funds account, a separate account where you pre-fund irregular expenses that are predictable but not monthly: car registration, annual insurance premiums, holiday spending, irregular home maintenance, every expense you can anticipate in the next 12 months divided by the number of pay periods until it arrives. This amount transfers automatically every payday. So when the irregular expense arrives, the money is already sitting there waiting for it rather than creating a gap in the monthly budget. All three of these transfers leave the income landing account on payday, before the balance has been seen, before any spending decisions have been made, before the windfall effect has any opportunity to run. Layer 3. The spending account. After the savings dispatch has run, a fourth automated transfer moves a fixed weekly spending allowance to a separate account. This is your only spending account. Every variable discretionary expense comes from here and only here: groceries, dining, entertainment, clothing, everything that isn't a fixed auto-pay bill. Here's why the separate account matters so much and why the weekly rather than monthly allocation is the technical choice that makes this actually work. A monthly allocation in a single account creates a specific psychological problem. The balance at the beginning of the month looks large. Large balances feel abundant. Abundant feelings produce the windfall effect. Spending in the first 2 weeks of the month is systematically higher than spending in the last 2 weeks because the balance is high early and constrained late. Weekly allocation eliminates this entirely. The balance resets every week to the same amount. The windfall effect activates on a weekly amount rather than a monthly one. The spending behavior is significantly more consistent across the month because the balance is always roughly the same size regardless of where you are in the pay cycle. The weekly amount is calculated once. Monthly discretionary budget divided by 4.3 weeks per month. Automated transfer every Monday morning. The week's spending happens from that account. When it reaches zero, the week is done. No transfers in from the income landing account until Monday resets it. The account acts as a structural spending boundary without requiring tracking, without requiring category budgets, without requiring a single conscious decision about whether any individual purchase is appropriate. The balance tells you everything you need to know in real time. Layer 4. The automation audit. This is the layer that separates a system that works for 6 months from a system that works for 6 years. Full automation isn't set and forget. It's set and periodically verify. Because circumstances change. Income changes, expenses change, goals change, and an automated system running on outdated parameters doesn't just fail to optimize. It can actively work against you by continuing to execute instructions that made sense when they were written but don't match your current situation. The automation audit happens 4 times a year. Once per quarter, it takes 20 minutes. And it's the most valuable 20 minutes in your financial calendar. Here's specifically what it checks. Are all the autopay amounts still accurate? Insurance premiums renew annually and sometimes change. Subscription prices drift upward quietly. Utility estimates adjust seasonally. Every autopay amount should match the current actual charge. Mismatches either overdraft your account or create credit card balances you didn't plan for. Has your income changed? A raise, a bonus structure change, a new income source. Every income change should trigger a recalculation of the savings dispatch amounts. The percentage stays constant. The dollar amount updates to match the new income. Most people who get raises never update their automated savings contributions. The raise quietly becomes lifestyle rather than savings velocity. Have any goals been completed? Emergency fund hit its target. A debt got paid off. A sinking fund expense was incurred. Each completed goal should trigger a redirect of that automated amount to the next priority in the hierarchy. The system doesn't know when goals are achieved. You have to tell it, and the quarterly audit is when you tell it. Are there any new decision points that have appeared? A new expense that isn't yet automated? An account that opened without being integrated into the flow? A transfer that was set up manually and then forgotten. Decision points accumulate quietly between audits, and the quarterly check is what catches them before they become habitual leakage. Layer 5. The exception protocol. Every fully automated system needs a defined response to the situations it wasn't designed for. Because life is not fully automatable, unexpected expenses arrive, income gets disrupted, circumstances change in ways that couldn't be anticipated when the system was designed. The exception protocol is a simple set of rules you decide in advance about how the automated system responds to unexpected inputs. Written down somewhere you can reference without having to make the decision under pressure. Unexpected expense under $500 comes from the weekly spending allocation or rolls over from the sinking fund if categorically appropriate. Does not trigger any transfer from savings or investment accounts. Unexpected expense between $500 and $2,000 comes from the emergency fund if genuinely an emergency. Does not go on a credit card. Does not come from investment accounts. Emergency fund is replenished by temporarily increasing the emergency fund transfer amount in the savings dispatch until the balance is restored. Unexpected income windfall. 80% routes to the next unfunded goal in the savings hierarchy. 20% goes to discretionary spending. Automatically, before the income has been incorporated into the baseline spending psychology. Income disruption. The automated system continues running unchanged for the first month from emergency fund reserves. If disruption extends beyond 1 month, the savings dispatch transfers reduce proportionally to protect the spending account allocation. Investment contributions pause last. They are the final lever pulled, not the first. These decisions are made once in a calm, clear-headed moment and written into the protocol. When the unexpected event arrives, there's no decision to make under stress. The protocol already made it. Here's what a fully automated financial system actually feels like once it's running. Not exciting. That's the honest answer. It feels like almost nothing. Money arrives, money moves, bills get paid, savings accumulate, investments compound. The weekly spending account resets. You live your life. The absence of financial anxiety that most people attribute to having enough money is actually, in most cases, the experience of having a system that runs correctly without requiring constant attention. The anxiety wasn't about the amount of money. It was about the uncertainty, the not knowing if everything was covered, the mental overhead of tracking what had processed and what hadn't, and whether the balance would clear. Full automation eliminates the uncertainty, not by solving the underlying financial situation immediately, by making the financial situation predictable. And predictable is most of what financial peace of mind actually requires. You built it once, now it runs. That's the whole point.